MobilityXlab is situated in the perfect location. It's right in the middle of the booming part of Gothenburg.
It's the right mix of people, the right mix of companies, everyone toward the same goal, innovation.
MobilityXlab is an interface between startups and corporations.
It's like the Silicon Valley of Europe, basically.
MobilityXlab is a great platform for startups to grow in, and it provides them with a very creative environment as well.
Join us. Together, we bring future mobility closer.
Thank you.
Two.
Hi everyone and welcome to this panel. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sanna Moore and I will moderate this fine panel. We're from MobilityXlab and we're from Sweden, representing a couple of industry companies there. I wish to do a short introduction of the panel. Before that, to start, MobilityXlab is an innovation hub based in Gothenburg, Sweden. We founded in 2017 by industry companies who wanted to work together in collaborations, but most importantly, they want to work together with startups. So that's what we're here to do today. We're scouting for startups to join us in collaboration doing POCs. MobilityXlab's partners are SEVT, Ericsson, Volvo Cars, Volvo Group, Zenseact, Veoneer, and recently Polestar joined our team. We believe in innovation through collaboration. We offer an innovation program where startups and partner companies work together in POCs, in pilot projects, and hopefully leading to a commercial contract. And so far we had 69 startups joining the program, and we've seen 12 accelerations so far. Now, introducing the panel, Pontus from Volvo Group. We have Michael Schön from Volvo Cars. We have Peter Stavered from SEVT. We have Shilan Demir from Zenseact. Would you like to introduce what you do at your company? Please, starting with Shilan.
Thank you. First of all, does everybody hear? No. Okay. So, is it better this way? Perfect. I am Shilan Demir. I'm head of partnership and emerging technology at Zenseact. And Zenseact is a new company, but we have a heritage coming from Volvo Cars. We do software for autonomous driving and active safety features.
Peter?
Thank you, Sanna. My name is Peter Stavered. I work at CVT as head of innovation. CVT is a company that develops mobility solutions for a different tomorrow. It means both the vehicle itself, but also digital products supporting that vehicle. Thank you.
My name is Michael Schön. I work at the Volvo Cars R&D Innovation Department. So we work with MobilityXlab, but also with other accelerators to scan the global market for startup and advanced engineering companies to work with in all technology domains.
My name is Pontus All, and I work for the Volvo Group as part of Connected Solutions, as Senior Venture Development Manager. And for background and for reference, Volvo Group, we are heavily involved in manufacturing our trucks, buses, construction equipment, but also increasingly financial services, connected services. So we have a fairly large footprint of a lot of different markets and a lot of different types of vehicles. It's probably good to know.
Thank you very much. Let's start with the question why. Why are we here today? Why do your companies would like to work with startup collaborations? And may I start with you, Pontus?
I think there's many reasons why we're excited to work with startups. I think from a high level, you can say that we're part of a pretty major transformation in the company. We're moving towards a fossil-free future, and we have made pledges towards being fossil-free in 2040. And that's a fairly big major undertaking for a commercial vehicle manufacturer. And we recognize that these are pretty big challenges, and we cannot really go about it alone. That's fair to say. not only this, I would say, a journey in itself, but also there's more requirements and expectations on us on autonomous, on connected solutions and so on. And that we believe startups play a key role here in this transformation of ours. Because we understand that there's too much things to do here, there's too much challenges. So we are looking for startups as a means for get access to talent, as a means to get access to technology we could not have developed ourselves, because they have a focus which we cannot have. They have access to capital that we cannot have, and a speed which we cannot have. So I think in all, there's a lot of opportunities to work together with startups, and we provide more of the industrialization and market access, and they provide solutions. So that's what we see in startups, in startup collaborations.
Thank you very much, Pontus. Michael, would you like to share why you find it so important to work with startups?
I think Volvo Group summarized it really well. What I can add on that one, I know that a lot of Israeli startups here today. Israel is an interesting area because there's a lot of innovation here. I know we have more than 1,000 startup companies per year here in Israel. There's also a lot of high-tech technology here in Israel. Israel is not producing any cars, but the government here has the ambition to be number one in smart mobility. And that's also why a lot of car companies are also having a great interest to search for startup companies here. And we have MobilityXlab here also as a partner to facilitate. Of course, MobilityXlab is looking for companies globally as well. Not my microphone disappeared. No, that's why we are looking in innovation globally. There's a lot of innovation in a large corporation, but there's much more outside a large organization, and also in areas that we may not look on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peter, CVT, SABT, why do you want to work with startups?
I think both Pontus and Michael said most of it, but I would like to take a historical perspective on mobility. We've had the vehicles now for 100 years, even more. It's been a very incremental development over this time, but in the recent years we have seen a lot of radical change, disrupting what we have been used to be so efficient and good at in this volume business. It's I would say like a Formula One industry, the automotive, very tough competition and so on. But now I think all in this business are a bit nervous about the future because it's not so clear anymore how it will play out. And for us being here and also in MobilityXlab, it's because we need the help of smart people around the world to help us being innovative and create the future together.
Thank you very much. And finally, Shilan.
Yes, I will just add what my colleagues here are in much mature industry, and we are the new kids on the block when it comes to how we work with startups. For us, it's not a question, it's just a must. We are ourselves a startup, and we have a strategy in our company to not only work and do everything by ourselves. We are in many strategical areas, we are looking for others that can develop on our tool chain or in our environment, and that way to create features and future products that we cannot do by ourselves, because we are trying to solve one of the biggest challenges in this world. And that we can do a lot of things, but that's not the idea. It's to enable others to succeed and create good products.
Thank you. We are talking about why we work with startup corporate collaborations and the importance of the industry companies, why they are out scouting for startups. And if I continue on that path, may I ask you, Peter, you've chosen to work with innovation platforms such as MobilityXlab. How come is that?
I would say being in Sweden and Gothenburg, it's right outside our office. We have startups from all over the world visiting us in Sweden often. So, and also with the partners sitting here on stage, we can also we try to take care of these startups. Maybe we have a common interest, so they have a better chance of making it with us in Sweden. But that doesn't stop us from coming here to Israel, of course, to look for ourselves. So I think the collaboration and the closeness to physical closeness and meeting face to face is important in Gothenburg.
Thank you very much. Talking about working together with startups, it's been 4.5 years ago since you all were part of forming MobilityXlab, and I think that we've all learned ways of working together with startups. Michael, can you say how Volvo Cars have developed ways of working together with startups?
Yes. So it's a multi-stage process. The first is, of course, we need to listen to the pitches, understand and assess the technology, both from a technology maturity level. We use the technology readiness level scale for that one, and also from a business perspective. If we find interesting collaboration, we sign a non-disclosure agreement, we proceed to the next step. Usually that is to do a proof of concept, so that serves two purposes. One is to verify or confirm that the technology is working in the Volvo Cars context, and also to increase the TRL level 1 or 2 notches. The stage after that one, that is going through industrialization, and here we have several options. In most cases, the startup do not work directly with an OEM, but rather through a tier 2 or tier 1. And that has two reasons. One is that we need the production capability. Volvo Cars we have 6 factories. Every factory is producing a new vehicle every 60 seconds, so that we cannot allow any disruption in the manufacturing chain. So, of course, a startup can produce either hardware or software or a system. Of course, usually you're not so dependent if it's software for disruption, but everyone has seen the supply chain and semiconductor issues that we have had lately, and the impact it have on the production chain. So our recommendation then is also for a startup to team up with a tier 2 or tier 1. That will also allow not only production safety or capability, but also financial stability. Because a startup could potentially go bankrupt, and then an OEM would not be able to produce cars, and that's of course not so good.
Thank you very much. And you work through the Open Innovation Arena?
Yes. We work at the Volvo Cars R&D Innovation Department, also called Open Innovation Arena. So we collaborate with the entire R&D machinery. It's around 8,000 people. So we are kind of the access point to the rest of the organization as well to conduct these proof of concepts.
Thank you very much. Moving to Volvo Group, you also developed ways of working together with startups over the years in R&D projects, and I know you even have a physical place where you work together with startups. Can you please tell us about that, Pontus?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So I think it's fair to say that a lot of things have been happening over the years. To add to kind of Michael's description of what's going on throughout the stages, we have right now, from what I heard from a colleague, we have over 25 collaborations ongoing. So we start to become a critical mass of things. And when you start having so many projects, you start to, I guess, think about the processes and how you do things and how you work with startups. I think that's been a lot of, I think you can say a lot of things attributed to mind shift change across the board in the Volvo Group. But to your point, there's been a lot of changes through procurement and how we work with legal things to get it easier, more adapted towards startups and their needs, because there are different things. And we do have open arenas. For instance, we have one called Camp X, which is an open area where startups can actually come and co-locate, because the physical presence sometimes is quite required. Not always, but there's a benefit to doing that. So there's a range of different things in the way we work with startups, but it's a lot of learnings, but more things can be done.
And we have a saying that it happens when we meet, and that's what we do together. And this is also part of it when we come to Israel. Shilan, you mentioned that you are more or less like a startup yourself at Sensact. Does that affect your way of working with startups?
I think so, because now when I'm listening to Mikael and Pontus, I see that they have very much structured the way they are working with startups. For us, it's more of the daily basis that we work with. We are identifying both through MobilityXlab, but also everyone in our company is very much eager to find new solutions and find new ways of actually solving their problem. So a lot of time people comes to me and say, you know what, I have found this startup, can we meet? And I set up a meeting, and I'm making sure that very early in the discussion, setting up the NDAs in place so everybody feels secure to be part of, to share the details and improve things together. So when we talk with the startups, it gets very fast into the details, and we're trying to be as fast as we can, and in a safe way, of course. And we also have it very much in our daily day-to-day work. So when we find something that this is interesting and we want to do a POC, proof of concept, usually we start to plan that job and making sure that it's part of the whole kind of machinery. So it's not something we do on the side. But we are evaluating it, and then if it's good enough, we start to do the test in our test vehicles together, because we have a fleet of vehicles that is running around the world. And that way we can be faster, and we can also be challenging towards the startups, because we can challenge them really about the technology and if it's really mature. And so, yeah, it goes very fast.
And speed is, of course, something that we're all looking for. I know that a startup would typically say that an industry company is a slow one. At MobilityXlab, we say that we combine two superpowers. So you have the punch of the elephant, which is, of course, the industrial company, and then you have the speed of the cheetah, which is the startup. And if you combine those two, you get superpower. Peter, may I ask you, SEVT, working with startups, what do you think the future looks like when you think about collaborating with startups at SEVT?
I think, Sheila, you started talking about the speed, and what we struggle with now is, I think, more the speed of things, because we are used, as Mikael pointed out, we make cars by the minute. You know, you need a very good structure to do that in a safe way. At the same time, we want to capture the innovations from some of these startups, trying to put some of these pieces of the puzzle into our system, which we see might have a challenge, and we see the solution, or we might not see the solution, but we see the competence, and we try to grab that and co-create them. But to do that speedy, we need to learn, and we are still learning, I think, to speed up our processes, as you mentioned with procurement, Pontus, and yeah, we will be quicker in the future, that's for sure.
Okay, so the future is for quicker processes, and that's promised by SEVT. So you can all go to Peter and say that you want to work very fast. Thank you very much. MobilityXlab, we have 600 applications over the close to 5 years that we've been in operations. 69 startups have been invited. When, during the application period, people ask me, can you share success stories? So I will ask you, Pontus, can you please share a success story, how you found someone in an early stage and moved that all the way to a collaboration?
Sure. There are, of course, a lot of good collaboration stories. I think one which is probably applicable to this setting and this scene. We have around the corner here, we have Fortelix, who's working with us in a different way. And for the background of the company and the collaboration itself is because we are looking very much into autonomous, like most of our partners as well. And it's of paramount importance, of course, to have a safe autonomous driving. And this is where good friends from Fortelix comes into play. So we were working with them from a quite early stage on looking at the edge cases, on creating scenarios by which we can test and verify that our solutions will actually work in a safe manner. And we've been working with them in an early phase. We do a proof of concept and proof of value, and all the way through a more strategic partnership, also bolstered by investment. So I guess it's a good scenario where you're starting off small, and you, little by little, you increase the collaboration, increase the partnership, And in our case, you also have an investment arm that can in and kind of strengthen that partnership. So it's a lot of different pieces that come together in this particular case, we can say.
Thank you very much. Shilan, do you have any tips for startups that are interested in collaborating with Zenseact?
I will say to skip the numbers and the figures and how you're going to change the world, but more get into the details and try to help us to solve the problems that you see. And because we are very happy we are happy when the startups succeed and becomes stronger through the collaboration with us. So that's not something we start, but we would really like to be challenged on the technicality and how you're trying to solve a problem. So keep the business topics and all that for later, but just make sure that we find each other on a technical level, and we go from there.
Thank you very much. I will take a few questions from the audience in a few minutes, so think about what you would like to ask this panel, Volvo Group, Volvo Cars, SEVT and Zenseact. First of all, I would like to ask all of you, what sort of techniques are you scouting for right now, talking about startup corporate collaborations? Mikael, would you like to go first?
The simple answer is everything.
Good.
We have disrupting now with ACES, with autonomy, electrification, which is an extension of the sustainability transformation now, also connectivity, compute, and shared mobility. We also see a big shift in software domain. OEMs are doing much more software and much more frequent updates. So what we see is essentially within sensor technology, in-cabin tech, 5G, AI, compute technology, Industry 4.0, essentially everything. Everything is under disruption now, so creating a lot of new opportunities. What I can add to Zenseact's comment for startups approaching Volvo Cars is that, the technology readiness level scale from 1 to 9, we typically don't engage it too early stages. There has to be some kind of maturity of the technology to show that it would really work. In addition to that, similar to Volvo Group, we also have an investment arm, the tech fund, that can support the startup. But we have noticed in Israel, a lot of startups, they are already quite well financially backed, so they're more looking for scale-up opportunities.
Thank you. Peter, would you like to go next? What sort of technologies are you looking for at SEVT in startup collaborations?
Since we are heading towards the mobility solutions, I think then you need to look for quite a wide range. As Mikael said, it could be everything, but we try to understand the future by understanding our future customers, and that would be, not today's customers. We are used to more, for example, cities and countries, and infrastructure can be charging. So we have some challenges already today just by going all electric, like charging. How do you do that efficiently and in a simple way for the end user? But then, of course, bigger challenges like autonomous drive and how that will play out in the future. So we are all over the place, I would say, as well.
Right. Shilan?
A lot of things has been mentioned, but to be a little bit more specific, I would like to, we have an enormous amount of data that now we are collecting, and we want to, the future is automation, and a lot of things in the tool chain need to be automated. For example, annotation and how we do verification and so on, within ADAS and autonomous driving, of course. So that is one thing we are very interested in, to understand how we can utilize, for example, enabled data. And how can we make the data, the annotation of the data more automatized and autonomous, and taking out of the human in the process and the machinery.
Thank you very
that
much.
is just one example. But yeah, hit me. Maybe I have missed something, so we can discuss. It's always the innovation happens when we meet, right?
It is. It is very much so. So anyone, startup, Shilan, she's open for suggestions. Pontus, what is Volvo Group looking for?
Yeah, that's a
Technology-wise.
fine question. It's more of the all over the place type of answer as well. Maybe the difference is that we're looking for it through the lens of the commercial vehicle manufacturer. So we have, I guess, different set of requirements and issues related to electrification and autonomous driving and a connected future. So we have share the same, but also very quite different in a sense. Our vehicles is also in a context of certain things. They're operating at a site. There might be in a logistics chain. They might be doing some work, and I think that's also a realm which is slightly different from my colleagues as well. And we're looking for solutions all across the board.
Yeah. And if I'm not totally wrong, autonomous drive is most developed in construction sites and not.
I think it's fair to say that we have, of course, a strategy for autonomous and how that's going to be played out. And I think off-road and quarries and ports is going to be instrumental as we slightly move into slightly more complex ones, which may be hub to hub and finally, I suppose, in an urban environment. It's going to be a stage-wise approach, it seems.
Thank you very much. Questions from you? What would you like to ask? Volvo Group, Volvo Cars, SEVT, Sensact, working together, startup corporate collaborations. What are you curious about?
Hello, my name is Petter. What's the best thing about Israeli founders and Israeli entrepreneurs?
I start. No, I think Israel is, if you start with the culture, it's quite different, I would say, from Swedish culture. And we have been there now for some years, and we enjoy the forward-leaning attitude from a lot of the startups here. Very brave and ambitious. Money is not the problem, obviously, here to get moving, but then of course the market in Israel is limited, so you need to meet with maybe companies like us and others. So we are very happy both about the people and the technology from this country. So that's why we are here so much.
Michael?
So this is a message for the startups. We have indeed innovation in three different locations, so to speak. One is, of course, within a large organization, and the second is the external engagement with the startup community. But at Volvo Cars, we have now also created a third option. So we have made us more playable on the innovation arena by releasing an innovation portal. It is publicly available at developer.volvocars.com. Anyone can access this. And what we have done is to provide a set of APIs. So if you have a piece of technology you would like to experiment with in the Volvo Cars digital context, you can access some of the vehicle's functions to experiment with. Thank you.
Thank you. Pontus, anything that you would like to add to that?
I think I want to echo some of that. I think the people, it's all comes down to people and ambitions thereof, but also the fact that it's usually grounded in a lot of deep understanding of the problem and deep understanding of technology, which is quite refreshing in many ways.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can I ask Shilan if you can share a sunshine story working together in a partnership that you've done recently?
Oh, there's a lot of one. I don't know, but one of them that we have been working with in MobilityXlab, I can mention, is Untitled, which is we are using now for annotation of our data, and they started very small in the same building as us, and now they're one of the biggest with in data annotation. So that's a really good success story. And we have a strategical partnership with Luminar, which is growing enormously, and that is also how we have been working together, and with the support, of course, of our owners, Volvo Cars. It has been, that's two I can mention.
And I think that story goes beyond everything that we know. Michael, you said TRL level. They were two students at the beginning, and now working quite big and a commercial contract with Sensact.
Yes, and many others as well.
Many others
Yeah.
as well. Thank you very much. To sum up everything here today, all our partners at MobilityXlab are looking for the world's best startups to come and join in collaboration projects. We will have a next application round open this autumn, starting in August. The collaboration program will run for 6 months. The very fine thing about being selected to MobilityXlab is that you will get at least 2 partners to work with from the start. So at least 2 proof of concepts to work with. They all work in collaboration with each other. Working together for 6 months, that could be extended for another 6 months if there's good progress in the projects. So thank you very much for listening in to us today, and I hope that you will join us in our path of pioneering future mobility together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.